Commander Samantha Wright stood at the main viewport of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching the red dust storms sweep across the Martian colonies below. The year was 2157, and humanity had spread its wings beyond Earth, establishing thriving settlements on Mars and Europa. The sight of human achievements still filled her with pride, even after 5 years of overseeing Earth's defensive operations. "Commander, you need to see this." Lieutenant Eric Martinez's voice crackled through her earpiece. His tone made her turn away from the viewport immediately. In the station's control room, dozens of screens showed the same image, a massive ship, unlike anything humans had built, approaching Earth's solar system. Its design was both beautiful and alien, with sweeping curves that seemed to defy physics. "First contact," Samantha whispered, her heart racing. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades, but now that it was here, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. The alien vessel transmitted its first message in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Zarkax Federation, and we come in peace." The message repeated in every major Earth language, showing their advanced understanding of human communication. Within hours, Ambassador Peter Mills was aboard the station, preparing for humanity's first meeting with an alien species. "Commander Wright," he said, adjusting his formal diplomatic uniform, "I want your security teams ready, but not visible. We can't appear hostile." Samantha nodded, dispatching her teams with subtle hand signals. The meeting room was secured, scanning equipment hidden behind panels, and emergency protocols were in place. The Zarkax representatives were tall, elegant beings with silvery skin and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Their leader, Supreme Delegate Vextor, bowed slightly to the human delegation. "We have watched your species with great interest," he said, his voice melodious and calming. "Your advancement from planetary civilization to spacefaring race has been remarkable." The initial meetings went better than anyone could have hoped. The Zarkax offered to share technology, medical knowledge, and access to galactic trade routes. They praised human creativity and determination, speaking of a bright future of cooperation between their species. But Lieutenant Martinez couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. Something about the Zarkax transmissions pattern bothered him. During his night shift, when the station was quiet, he ran deep analysis algorithms on their communications. 3 days into the diplomatic talks, Martins discovered something that made his blood run cold. Behind the Zarkax's official transmissions was a hidden frequency carrying encrypted messages. It took him 12 hours to crack a portion of the code. "Commander Wright." Martinez burst into her quarters at 300 hours, breaking all protocols. "The Zarkax. They're lying to us." He handed her his tablet, showing the decoded transmission. "Primary fleet standing by beyond Kuiper Belt. Diplomatic mission proceeding as planned. Human defenses minimal. Resource extraction can begin once planetary shields are lowered for trade ships. Estimated casualties, 40% of population. Acceptable losses for resource value." Samantha read the message 3 times, her hands shaking with both fear and anger. "Wake up, Ambassador Mills," she ordered, "and get me direct links to all Earth Defense Fleet commanders, quietly." The next few days were a masterclass in deception. Ambassador Mills continued the diplomatic talks, smiling and discussing trade agreements, while Earth's military prepared in secret. The Zarkax, believing their encrypted channels were secure, continued sending updates about their invasion fleet. Chief Engineer Laura Bennett worked around the clock with her team, bringing old defense platforms online and updating their software. "They think we're primitive," she said, dark circles under her eyes as she coded. "Let's show them how primitive we are." A week into the diplomatic mission, Samantha received word from the Europa colony. Their deep space scanners had detected the Zarkax fleet. Over 300 warships, hidden behind Jupiter's magnetic field, waiting for the signal to attack. "They're counting on us being trusting and naive," Samantha told her gathered officers. "They expect us to be an easy target, a young species they can simply sweep aside. But humanity didn't get to the stars by being weak. Martinez's intelligence team intercepted the attack order 2 weeks after first contact. The Zarkax planned to strike in exactly 48 hours, when their ships would be in perfect position to hit Earth, Mars, and Europa simultaneously. Ambassador Mills made his final appearance at the diplomatic dinner, raising a glass to interstellar friendship. "We look forward to lowering our planetary shields tomorrow," he announced, playing his part perfectly, as a sign of trust between our peoples. That night, as the Zarkax representatives returned to their ship, Earth's military machine sprang to life. Hidden defense platforms emerged from underground bases. Civilian ships that had been secretly retrofitted with military gear moved into position. The trap was set. Samantha stood in the same spot where she'd first heard about the alien arrival, watching Earth glow blue and beautiful below. This time, instead of pride, she felt fierce determination. The Zarkax thought they were dealing with an innocent, young species ready for harvesting. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was being underestimated. "All stations report ready, Commander," Martinez said from his console. "The Zarkax fleet is beginning to move." Samantha nodded, her voice steady as she gave the order that would begin humanity's first interstellar war. "Activate defense grid. Release security protocols. Let's show them what humanity can do." The lights dimmed across the station as power was diverted to weapons systems. On Earth below, millions of citizens went about their lives, unaware of the battle about to begin. Samantha intended to keep it that way. "Send one final message to the Zarkax diplomatic vessel," she ordered. "Keep it simple." The message that transmitted was just 3 words long. "We knew everything." As alarms began to sound across the station, Samantha allowed herself a small smile. The Zarkax were about to learn a valuable lesson about humanity. They weren't just young. They weren't just ambitious. They were survivors, and they had teeth. The first shots of the greatest war in human history were moments away from being fired, and humanity was ready. Not because they wanted war, but because they had prepared for it. The Zarkax thought they were hunting sheep, but they were about to face wolves. Behind her, Martinez's console lit up with incoming ship signatures. The real battle for humanity's future was about to begin. Chief Engineer Laura Bennett walked quickly through the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her footsteps echoed in the massive tunnel as she led Commander Wright and Colonel Daniel Carter past rows of dormant machines that would soon change the course of human history. "Welcome to Project Prometheus," Laura said, pressing her hand against a scanning panel. Lights flickered on, revealing enormous hangar bays stretching for miles. "This is what we've been building for the past 15 years. Samantha Wright's eyes widened as she saw the massive devices coming to life. "How did we keep this hidden from the Zarkax scans?" Laura smiled, her tired face lighting up with pride. "Quantum shielding. Dr. Catherine Morgan's breakthrough. The Zarkax technology can't detect anything protected by it, because they've never seen anything like it before." Colonel Carter whistled as they passed the first row of defense platforms. Each one was the size of a small building, covered in smooth, dark metal that seemed to drink in the light. "How many do we have?" 250 platforms ready for orbital deployment," Laura replied, checking her tablet. "Plus another 50 around Mars and 20 protecting Europa. Each one carries enough firepower to take down a capital ship." They stopped at a viewing window overlooking an assembly bay. Below them, robots worked tirelessly, putting final touches on what looked like satellite dishes, but weren't. "These are our secret weapon," Laura explained. "Quantum disruption fields. Once activated, they'll shut down any ship that doesn't have our protective frequencies. And the Zarkax ships definitely don't have those," Colonel Carter said with a grim smile. The facility rumbled as massive doors began opening in the mountain above them. Laura checked her watch. Right on schedule. "The platforms are being moved into position. We have 18 hours before the Zarkax expect us to lower our planetary shields." Commander Wright watched as the first platform rose silently into the night sky, its quantum shielding making it invisible to both eyes and sensors. How long have we known this day might come? Since we first detected their scout ships 7 years ago, Laura answered. They thought they were being subtle, but Dr. Morgan's quantum sensors picked them up. That's when we started preparing in earnest. They moved deeper into the facility, entering a room filled with holographic displays. Dr. Catherine Morgan stood in the center, her hands moving through the air as she adjusted complex equations. She barely looked up as they entered. The shield harmonics are ready, she said, her eyes still focused on the calculations floating around her. I've analyzed their weapon signatures from the data Lieutenant Martinez collected. Their energy weapons operate on a completely different principle than what they showed us in the diplomatic meetings. They showed us their civilian technology, Laura added, hoping we'd be impressed enough to let our guard down. But thanks to Catherine's work, our shields are tuned to stop their military-grade weapons. Colonel Carter studied the tactical displays showing the positions of Earth's hidden defenses. What about our offensive capabilities? The Zarkax have 300 ships. Dr. Morgan finally looked up, a confident smile on her face. That's where things get interesting. Their ships are powerful, but their shield technology is decades behind what we've developed. They rely on brute force, massive energy barriers that drain huge amounts of power. Our quantum torpedoes will slip right through them. How is that possible? Samantha asked. We've only been in space for a few decades because we took a different path, Laura explained. The Zarkax and most alien species focused on traditional physics. Bigger ships, more power, stronger beams. But we started with quantum mechanics and worked our way up. Dr. Morgan's theories about space-time manipulation gave us an entirely different approach to both weapons and defenses. They gathered around a central hologram showing the solar system. Hundreds of small dots represented the hidden platforms now taking their positions in space. More dots showed Earth's small but deadly fleet of ships, each one equipped with technology the Zarkax couldn't detect. Even their sensors are based on old principles, Dr. Morgan said, bringing up technical data. They scan for energy signatures, radiation, mass concentrations, but our quantum tech operates between the layers of space-time. To their instruments, our ships and platforms might as well be invisible. Laura pulled up footage from their weapon tests. The quantum torpedo, no bigger than a car, slipped through a test shield rated to stop a nuclear blast. This is why we let them think we were still working with fusion drives and radio waves. Every piece of technology we showed them was carefully chosen to reinforce their belief that we were primitive. Colonel Carter's tablet beeped. The last platform is in position. Mars and Europa reports all systems ready. He looked at Commander Wright. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Samantha studied the tactical display, watching the Zarkax fleet moving into attack position. They were spreading out, planning to hit multiple targets at once. Their formation was perfect for an enemy that couldn't fight back. It would be disastrous against an enemy that could strike from anywhere. Dr. Morgan, she said, how many ships do you think we'll lose? Catherine ran some quick calculations through her holographic display. If everything works as tested, none. Their weapons literally can't touch our ships. The real question is how many we let escape to spread the word about humanity's true capabilities. Laura brought up the activation sequences for the defense grid. All systems are green. Quantum shields are operating at full capacity. Disruption fields are charged and ready. We can launch the entire network with a single command. Commander Wright thought about all the years of preparation, the thousands of people who had kept this secret, the incredible technological leap humanity had hidden from the galaxy. The Zarkax thought they were about to harvest a primitive species. Instead, they were about to face humanity's full technological might. Send the order to all commands, she said. Operation Aegis is now active. When they come for us tomorrow, show them exactly what humanity can do. As they left the facility, Laura looked up at the stars, knowing that humanity's invisible shield now stretched across the solar system. You know what's funny? She said. They called us primitive because we've only been in space for a few decades. They never stopped to ask why we advanced so quickly. Above them, hidden in the night sky, humanity's defense platforms waited silently for the coming battle. The Zarkax would learn too late that they weren't dealing with a young, primitive species. They were dealing with a civilization that had looked at the laws of physics and found a completely new way to break them. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn just how dangerous it was to underestimate humanity. The Zarkax attack began exactly as they had planned. 300 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation around Earth, Mars, and Europa. Their ships looked like giant silver arrows, each one nearly a mile long. They expected to find helpless human colonies. Instead, they found something very different. Captain Stephen Powell sat in the command chair of the EDF Hyperion, hidden behind Earth's moon. His ship was tiny compared to the Zarkax vessels, but size didn't matter anymore. "All crews report ready," his first officer said quietly. "Send the signal to Admiral Carter," Stephen ordered. "The mice are in the trap." On board the defense station, Admiral Michelle Carter watched the Zarkax ships move into attack position. The alien ships hadn't detected a single one of Earth's defensive platforms or hidden vessels. Their scans passed right through the quantum shielding as if nothing was there. "They're powering up weapons," Lieutenant Martinez reported from his station. "Reading energy buildup in all ships." Admiral Carter picked up her command microphone. "This is Admiral Carter to all Earth Defense Forces. Execute Operation Aegis. Show them what humanity can do." The first surprise came when the Zarkax tried to fire their weapons. Nothing happened. Their energy beams hit the quantum disruption fields and simply disappeared. On their bridge, the Zarkax Supreme Commander stared in confusion at his weapons display. That's when Earth struck back. 250 defense platforms suddenly appeared around Earth, dropping their invisibility. Before the Zarkax could react, each platform fired a single quantum torpedo. The small projectiles passed through the alien shields as if they weren't even there. "Direct hits on 67 ships," Martinez called out. They're just gone, Admiral." The torpedoes phased right through their hulls and detonated inside. The Zarkax fleet scrambled to respond, but their formation was already broken. That's when Captain Powell led the attack from behind the moon. The Hyperion and 20 other Earth ships appeared from hiding, their quantum drives letting them jump instantly into the middle of the enemy fleet. "Target their command ships," Powell ordered. "Don't let them coordinate a response." The Hyperion's weapons were nothing like what the Zarkax expected from primitive humans. Instead of simple lasers or missiles, they fired streams of quantum-shifted particles that ignored shields and armor alike. 3 Zarkax capital ships disappeared in balls of light before they could even turn to face the new threat. "Admiral," Martinez said excitedly, "we're picking up panic in their communications. They're trying to call for reinforcements, but our disruption fields are blocking their signals." The Zarkax ships tried to return fire, but their weapons were useless against Earth's quantum shields. Their mighty energy beams splashed harmlessly against invisible barriers they couldn't even detect. Some ships tried to ram the human vessels, only to find themselves trapped in quantum anchor fields that held them in place. From her command station, Admiral Carter coordinated the battle with calm precision. "Group 3, execute flanking maneuver. Group 2, push them toward the waiting platforms. Captain Powell, keep disrupting their formation." The Zarkax battle plan fell apart completely. Their ships had never faced an enemy they couldn't even detect properly. Their sensors showed empty space where human ships actually were. Their shields did nothing against weapons that simply ignored them. Even their ability to retreat was taken away by the quantum disruption fields. "Ma'am," Martinez reported, "we're receiving surrender signals from 12 enemy vessels." Admiral Carter nodded. "Accept their surrender. Direct them to the holding position near Mars orbit. Tell them if they power up any systems without permission, they'll be destroyed." The battle wasn't just one-sided. It was a complete reversal of what the Zarkax had expected. They had come to crush a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves helpless against technology they couldn't understand. Captain Powell watched from the Hyperion's bridge as another group of Zarkak ships tried to break free of the quantum anchor fields. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with," he said to his crew. "They think if they just use more power, they can break through." The attempted breakout ended quickly. The struggling ships just made themselves easier targets for Earth's defense platforms. Quick flashes of light marked their ends as quantum torpedoes found their targets. "Status report," Admiral Carter called out. Martinez quickly compiled the numbers. "Enemy fleet is down to 120 ships. 47 have surrendered. The rest are either destroyed or disabled. We have no casualties, Admiral. Not a single human ship or platform has been damaged." The battle had lasted less than 30 minutes. 300 of the most powerful warships in the Zarkak's fleet had been defeated by a species they considered primitive. The few surviving ships were now trapped, their crews watching in shock as their mighty weapons did nothing against Earth's defenses. "Send a message to the remaining Zarkak's vessels," Admiral Carter ordered. "Tell them they have 5 minutes to surrender or be destroyed. And send them the recordings of what happened to their other ships. Let them see exactly what they're facing." The message went out in all Zarkak's frequencies. Along with it went videos showing their ships being destroyed by weapons they couldn't stop and defenses they couldn't penetrate. The effect was immediate. "Surrender signals coming in from 83 more ships," Martins reported. "Only a few are still refusing to give up." Admiral Carter looked at the tactical display, where the dots representing Zarkak ships were either disappearing or turning green to show their surrender. "Send in Captain Powell's group to deal with the holdouts. No need to drag this out any longer." The Hyperion and its squadron made quick work of the remaining resistance. The last Zarkak ship fought to the end, its captain refusing to believe that his mighty warship could be defeated by primitive humans. His final transmission was cut short as a quantum torpedo phased through his bridge shields. When the battle was over, Earth had captured over 100 Zarkak ships without losing a single defender. The remaining alien vessels floated powerless in space, their crews trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. "Send word to all colonies," Admiral Carter ordered. "Earth's space is secure. And send a message to the Zarkak's homeworld. Tell them if they want their crews back, they'll need to send diplomats. Real ones this time." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the true impact of what had happened began to sink in. Humanity had not just defeated an alien invasion. They had shown the galaxy that they were far more advanced than anyone had guessed. The age of humans being seen as primitive was over. "What do you think they'll do now?" Martins asked quietly. Admiral Carter watched the surrender proceedings on her screen. "They'll tell others about what happened here, and soon, every species in the galaxy will know that it's very, very dangerous to underestimate humanity." In the debris field that had once been the Zarkak's invasion fleet, Earth's ships stood guard over their prisoners. The quantum defense platforms resumed their invisible watch, ready for any new threats. The first battle for Earth's survival was over, and humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in a way that would never be forgotten. News of the Zarkak's defeat spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. In the great meeting hall of the Andromeda Collective, alien leaders gathered to discuss what had happened. Their best warships, defeated by a species that had only reached space travel a few decades ago. It seemed impossible. Major Richard Cooper stood before the Alien Council, wearing his Earth Defense Fleet uniform with pride. The aliens watched him with a mixture of fear and respect. Some of them had ridiculed humans as primitives just weeks ago. Now they sat in silence, waiting for him to speak. "The Zarkaks made a simple mistake," Richard said, his voice carrying across the quiet hall. "They thought being young meant being weak. They were wrong." On the main screen behind him, images showed the battle that had changed everything. The alien leaders watched in amazement as Earth's quantum weapons cut through Zarkak's shields like they weren't even there. "We come seeking allies, not servants," Richard continued. Earth wants peace, but as the Zarkax learned, we're more than capable of defending ourselves. The leader of the Andromeda Collective, a tall being with crystalline skin, stood up. Your quantum technology is far beyond what we thought possible. How did you develop it so quickly? Because we had to, came a voice from the back of the room. Dr. Amanda Wells walked forward, carrying a small device in her hands. Earth's gravity well is deeper than most habitable planets. Getting to space was harder for us. We couldn't use the same methods as other species. She placed the device on the central table. It was a quantum core, the heart of Earth's new technology. So we looked for another way. While other species pushed against space, we learned to slip between its layers. The alien scientists in the room crowded forward, their instruments trying to scan the quantum core. But just like the Zarkax sensors, their devices couldn't understand what they were seeing. We propose an alliance, Richard said. Earth will share some of our quantum technology. In return, we want access to your star maps, trade routes, and communication networks. The aliens whispered among themselves. They knew this was a turning point. Humanity wasn't asking for permission to join galactic society. They were offering an exchange between equals. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Zarkax Empire was falling apart. News of their fleet's defeat had sparked uprisings on dozens of worlds. Species they had conquered saw a chance for freedom. In her office on Earth's defense station, Commander Wright watched the reports coming in. The Zarkax have lost control of 3 major systems, Lieutenant Martinez told her. Their subject species are demanding independence. And the Zarkax response? She asked. Martinez smiled. They can't respond. Most of their fleet was either destroyed or captured here. What's left is spread too thin to hold their empire together. On Mars, Dr. Amanda Wells worked with alien scientists in a new joint research facility. They were combining human quantum technology with alien innovations, creating things neither species could have made alone. The quantum field responds differently to your crystalline circuits, she told her alien colleague. Look at these energy patterns. We could use this to make ships twice as fast with half the power. The alien scientist, amazed by the results, asked, "Why are you sharing this with us? You could keep these advances for Earth alone." Amanda shook her head, "Because that's not who we are. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, trade with it, learn from it. We just needed to make sure everyone knew we couldn't be pushed around." In the captured Zarkax ships, Earth engineers found star charts showing hundreds of inhabited worlds. Some were part of the Zarkax Empire, others were independent. All of them were now talking about the humans who had defeated the undefeatable Zarkax fleet. Major Cooper's diplomatic mission traveled from world to world. Some species welcomed them warmly, eager to ally with this powerful new force. Others were cautious, worried that humans might be as aggressive as the Zarkax. "We understand your concerns," he told the Council of a Water World species. "That's why we're here talking instead of making demands. Earth believes in cooperation, not conquest." To prove this point, Earth began accepting students from other worlds to study at the new Quantum Science Academy. Young aliens arrived eager to learn, and found humans just as eager to learn from them. Commander Wright visited the academy one day, watching alien and human students working together in the labs. "This is what we fought for," she told Dr. Wells. "Not just to survive, but to thrive." In the shipyards around Mars, the first joint human-alien vessels were taking shape. They combined Earth's quantum technology with alien materials and designs. The results were ships more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen before. The Zarkax themselves were forced to change. With their empire crumbling, they sent new diplomats to Earth, humble ones this time. They offered technology, resources, even territory in exchange for peace. "We were wrong about your species," the Zarkax diplomat admitted to Commander Wright. "We thought age meant wisdom. We didn't understand that sometimes the young see things the old have forgotten." Humanity's reputation grew with each passing day. Stories spread about their quantum ships that could slip through any defense, their invisible shields that stopped any attack. But what impressed other species most was how humans handled their victory. They could have demanded surrender from a dozen worlds, an alien news network reported. Instead, they're offering trade deals and cultural exchange programs. Perhaps they are teaching us all a new way. 6 months after the battle, the Galactic Conference was held. Species from across the galaxy gathered to discuss the new balance of power. Earth was invited as an equal, not a primitive newcomer. Major Cooper stood with Ambassador Mills, watching representatives from 100 worlds file into the Great Hall. "Did you ever think you'd see this?" the ambassador asked. "Humanity taking its place among the stars." "I always knew we would," Cooper replied. "I just thought it would take longer." Turns out we just needed the right motivation. In labs across Earth and its colonies, scientists continued pushing the boundaries of quantum technology. Each breakthrough was shared with their alien allies, strengthening the bonds between species. Dr. Wells found herself teaching quantum theory to beings from worlds she'd never imagined. "The fascinating thing," she told her class, "is how each species sees the universe differently. Together, we're uncovering secrets none of us could have found alone." The galaxy was changing. The age of empires like the Zarkax was ending. A new era of cooperation and mutual respect was beginning, sparked by humanity's stand against oppression. "We're not better than other species," Commander Wright said in a speech to the Joint Fleet Academy. "We're just different, and that difference helped us see solutions others had missed. Now it's our job to help build a galaxy where everyone's differences are celebrated, not feared." The Zarkax defeat had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. Never judge a species by its age. Sometimes, the youngest children have the most to teach. 5 years after the failed Zarkax invasion, Earth had become a very different place. Ships from 100 alien worlds moved through the solar system, their crews coming to trade, learn, and work together with humans. The sight of alien vessels no longer caused panic. It was just part of daily life. Commander Samantha Wright stood in her old spot on Defense Station Alpha, but this time she wasn't alone. Next to her stood representatives from 20 different species, all members of the new Galactic Defense Council. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years," Lieutenant Martinez said, joining her at the window. He now wore the insignia of Earth's Intelligence Command on his uniform. "Remember when we thought we were alone in the galaxy?" Samantha smiled, watching a massive trade ship from the Andromeda Collective dock with the station. "Sometimes I miss those simple days. But I wouldn't change what happened." The Zarkax Empire was gone. In its place, a dozen new independent worlds had joined the galactic community. Some of their ships now patrolled alongside Earth's fleet, their crews eager to prove they were different from their former rulers. Dr. Catherine Morgan's quantum technology had changed everything. In her new research center on Europa, she worked with scientists from across the galaxy. Together, they made discoveries that would have been impossible for any one species working alone. "The quantum field doesn't care what planet you're from," she told her mixed team of human and alien researchers. "It responds to intelligence and creativity. That's something every species has." On Mars, the joint shipyards had grown enormous. Chief Engineer Laura Bennett supervised the construction of new vessels that combined technologies from a dozen worlds. The latest ship taking shape in the dock was bigger than anything Earth had built before. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Laura said to her alien assistant. Quantum cores from Earth, crystal computing from the Andromeda Collective, and hull materials from 3 different worlds. No single species could have built her alone. The ship's name was Unity, and she would be the first of her kind, a true galactic vessel with a mixed crew from 20 different species. Her mission would be to explore the unknown parts of the galaxy, not for any one world, but for all of them. In the remains of the Zarkax Homeworld's government district, Major Richard Cooper met with the new Zarkax leadership. They were younger than the old guard, and they had learned from their species' mistakes. "We want to join the Defense Council," the new Zarkax leader said. not as rulers, but as equals. Our people need to learn a new way. Richard looked out at the city, where Zarkak citizens now lived and worked alongside beings they once would have considered inferior. That's why we're here, he said, to help build that new way together. The Quantum Science Academy had grown into the galaxy's premier learning center. Dr. Amanda Wells watched with pride as her latest class graduated. Young minds from 50 different species, all trained in the new sciences that were changing the galaxy. Remember, she told them, quantum technology taught us that everything in the universe is connected. The same is true for all thinking beings. We're stronger together than we ever could be alone. The Academy's success had led to similar schools opening across the galaxy. Earth's methods of teaching and learning spread along with its technology. Other species found that humans had a unique way of looking at problems, one that often led to surprising solutions. On Earth, regular citizens had adapted well to their planet's new role in the galaxy. Alien foods became popular in restaurants. Children played with toys from other worlds. The fear of the unknown had been replaced by curiosity about new discoveries. Commander Wright now led the combined fleet that protected Earth and its allies. Under her command, ships from dozens of worlds worked together to keep the peace. The quantum technology that had once been Earth's secret was now shared among trusted allies. We still have the edge in quantum science, she told her officers during a briefing. But our real strength isn't in our technology. It's in our ability to work with others, to see the best in different species and bring it out. The old Zarkak's military academies have been transformed into centers for peaceful research. Their training simulators, once used to plan conquests, now helped pilots learn to work together across species barriers. Even their former enemies had to admit that humans had changed the galaxy for the better. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Mills addressed representatives from 200 worlds. Behind him, the Unity prepared for her maiden voyage. 5 years ago, we stood alone against those who would have destroyed us, he said. Today, we stand together with friends from across the galaxy. We've learned from each other, grown together, and built something new. The Unity's launch was watched by billions of beings on thousands of worlds. As she lifted off from Mars, her crew of 20 different species working as one, she carried with her the hope of a truly united galaxy. Lieutenant Martinez, monitoring communications from his post, smiled as he heard the messages pouring in. Species that had been bitter enemies now wished the Unity and her crew good fortune. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Dr. Morgan's quantum breakthroughs continued to amaze even her. Working with alien scientists had shown her new ways to understand the universe. Every species sees reality slightly differently, she explained to a group of students. When we combine those viewpoints, we see things none of us could have seen alone. The Defense Council made Earth its permanent headquarters, a symbol of how much things had changed. The same quantum platforms that had once defended Earth against invasion now helped keep peace across dozens of star systems. Laura Bennett had started work on an even more ambitious project, a network of quantum gates that would allow instant travel between any 2 points in the galaxy. Once it's finished, she told Commander Wright, distance won't matter anymore. Any world will be as close as stepping through a door. As the Unity disappeared into quantum space on her first mission of exploration, Samantha Wright thought about how far humanity had come. From a single planet to a leader in the galactic community. From fighting for survival to teaching others how to live in peace. What do you think we'll find out there? Martins asked, watching the ship vanish. More mysteries, Samantha replied. More wonders, more chances to learn and grow. That's what humanity does best. We never stop exploring, never stop learning, never stop trying to be better. The quantum sensors tracked the Unity as she moved faster than light, carrying the best of every species into the unknown. Earth had found its place in the galaxy not through conquest or dominance, but by showing others a better way. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun. And humanity, the species that had once been dismissed as primitive, had helped make it possible. As night fell over Earth, lights twinkled in the sky. Stars, ships, and stations where beings from 100 worlds worked together in harmony. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate the power of the human spirit, for it could accomplish things that once seemed impossible.